so today we're going to go over a reading from the Tao Te Ching. Which number is it?
Number 51, Profound Virtue.
Alright, go ahead and read it.
The Tao creates, the virtue nourishes, the things form. The environment shapes them into completion. That is why the myriad creatures all respect the Tao and value virtue. When the Tao is respected, virtue is valued. No one can command them but the Tao. That is why the Tao creates myriad creatures. Virtue nourishes them, cultivates them, educates them, completes them, ripens them, supports them, carries them. The Tao creates them without possessing them, benefits them without profiting from them, and guides them without commanding them. That is what profound virtue means.
So what do you think that means?
Profound virtue the Tao creates. I think it kind of talks about, in a way, the Tao and the virtue, how one would be nature and virtue would be kind of the, maybe society and humanity in general, maybe. And just kind of how they work together and the differences of them in their own existence and their own nature. Yeah.
Alright, so like the Tao Te Ching means the way of virtue. So basically, if you look at the whole reading from the Tao, from 1 to 81, it's like, it's basically, to me, it's basically saying the virtue part, like the Tao is going to nourish them, cultivate them, educate them, completes them, ripens them, supports them, carries them. So like, if you like follow the Tao, you understand the Tao is gonna fulfill, all those components. Thing that stands out to me says the Tao creates them without possessing them, benefits them without profiting from them, guides them without commanding them. Like that part is kind of hard for people to do, I feel, and the Tao, to me, it gets me to think about like children. Like most people, like they might have kids, and then they'll like feel like, okay, these are my kids. Like they possess them. But imagine somebody who has kids, but their intention is not to own them or possess them. But if it's not just kids, then it could be students. Like you're running a martial arts school, whatever, and then you feel that you own these students that you're teaching. And I think the Tao is trying to teach people to not do that. Like you create, you could have created children yourself, and sometimes people are like, those are my kids that I created. But can you create kids and not feel like you possess them?
Right.
And same thing with the students. Benefits them without profiting from them. So I guess that's another component of it. Where you're just kind of like, just imagine that situation. I know you've probably met people like that, where like they truly do something out of their heart, or they do something for you, and there's nothing that they even want in return for that.
Yeah.
So the Tao is kind of trying to teach that apart, which is kind of rare, especially for business, because business is always about, hey, you do something for me, I do something for you. It's an exchanging type of thing. But this is trying to say, can you do something and then not not profit and just do just because.
Not even measure it.
Yeah, it's just like who you are, you know. And sometimes you read stories about that happening on the street where like somebody might even save somebody's life. Like somebody's drowning, they jump in there, they save the person, and they're not a police officer, they're not a firefighter, they're not even a lifeguard. They just help somebody, literally save their life, and then imagine the person that, you owe me like about $800 now. You know what I'm saying? But there's some people who be like they're just compelled to help, and I wanted to help, and it's not my job. I don't get paid to do this. I don't want your money. I don't need your money. I just wanted to help. So imagine that type of situation. Yeah, imagine that type of situation. You know, so you go back to the situation of like having kids or having students. So like you created the child, but then you know you benefit them, but then you're not like having an intention. All right, when you're like 30, all the money you make, you gonna give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's parents out there that they're trying to live through their kids because they didn't fulfill what they wanted. Now they want their kids to do what they wanted, and then they're basically having the kids so then they could reap the benefits of their hard work. So the Tao is trying to teach to say, hey, you know, don't do that. You know, guide them without commanding them. So I think it goes back to the Tao's natural teachings of like basically guiding people without like just using authority, like just telling people, hey, do this, do that, don't do this, but just kind of like leading by example, like
shaping over time. Yeah,
like just allow yourself to lead by example and allow them to try to get it without even having to say anything. Because I think there's a lot of hypocrisy with some people where they don't do it themselves, but then they just tell people what to do. I think that's a lot easier to do than actually living what you're trying to teach. You know, so that part of this teaching stands out the most to me. And then what is at the very end, it says that is what profound virtue means. So basically, this teaching right here is just talking about that's like real virtue, like profound, like if you read the Tao, the way of virtue, and you actually live it, like it's saying that this teaching right here is what like real virtue is, opposed to like maybe some other practices where they have a list of virtues. Follow this whole list. And that's not kind of how the Tao operates. It's not like necessarily like rules that you follow, but it's just like this just understanding that you have, and then you just kind of live it. Yeah.
It kind of makes me think of in a a little more indirect way of that. And it's funny that I'm saying this just on the heel of what you're saying, because you're talking about rules, but I'm thinking about the 4 agreements again, and I'm thinking about how don't take anything personally in kind of an indirect way ties in, like especially with like the possessiveness part and the example of just even kids and stuff or students and stuff, like how it can how that could feel personal, like they're your kid, you made them.
Yeah.
How that can feel so profoundly personal, you know,
right.
By nature even, but
right.
But that without possessing them, you know, you kind of you take it less personal in a way.
Yeah. That
they're yours, or you take the possession kind of, I think is one and the same as taking something personal and making it, you know, yours, and
right.
Putting rules on things in a way it becomes, you know, less of nature at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to do that. It's like easier said than done, because you think about it, it's like, all right, if they ain't my kids, then why am I taking care of them?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, so then there's kids all over. So then why just take care of everybody's kids then? It's like, you going to work, you're making money, and you're feeding the child, and you're sheltering the child, you're doing all these things. That's why there's like people that kind of get in court battles, like women be like, hey, you know, you're the father of this child,
Right.
and then the father's like, no, I'm not paying child support, I'm not doing this, doing that. It's like somebody's got to take responsibility for that. So it's like it's kind of sometimes harder to live these teachings, especially in the culture that we live in, because it's kind of set up where, all right, since you are the father, you need to pay child support, you need to do this, you need to do that. Whereas there may be some ancient cultures where it's more of a community raising a child together,
right?
And it's not like anybody's specific child. So it's like, if you look at it from your own terms, like we always use our name and say, oh, that's who I am, this is my name. But when you drop the ego, then you know that the name is not you, you know. But then if you apply it to children, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, are those really your kids? You know what I'm saying? Because even like recently happened in the news, like, I don't know if you know, but I was gonna tell you about this, where there's like this like father who had a 2-year-old, and he had, I think, like a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and he's like stay-at-home father, right? And then he basically, like, his wife was working, and then he had this car, like Acura MDX or whatever, and then the 2-year-old fell asleep in the back, and then he didn't want to wake her up, so he parks it in front of the residence where he lives. So he goes inside, and then he knew that the car shuts off after he had the air conditioner on. It was like really hot outside, so he left the air conditioner on, and he didn't want to wake her up. So then he goes inside, but then he knew that the car shuts off after 30 minutes. But then he got preoccupied, and then he was playing video games and stuff. Ended up leaving her in there for like over 3 hours, and then the wife comes home, and basically the baby died. I mean, the 2-year-old died. So then they call the cops, and the cops end up arresting him, and they pretty much like upgraded the charge to like what like murder. So now he's in jail. So then basically what I'm saying is that, like, you think it's your kids, but then if you don't do something that the law says that you should have done, now they step in, and then now they could punish you. So it's like, is it really your kids? Is it the state's kids? You get what I'm saying? Because you have to follow the law of what, like, otherwise they'll arrest you for like child neglect, or arrest you for, you know, like in this case, murder.
Right.
So it's like, there's so much responsibility involved with raising kids, and sometimes it's hard to like kind of live by this when the culture and society is teaching something completely.
We're on ownership in the West, yeah. Yeah,
it's like, this is my home, this is my car, this is my name, these are my kids, this is my dog. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's all this possessing and owning thing, and then you got the Tao coming in saying, hey, you know,
oh, that's illusion.
Yeah, can you create this but then still not possess? It's really hard, because it's not just with kids, but even with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
My wife.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is my wife, this is my girlfriend, and then this whole thing of like possessing, and that's the thing. It's really hard because this whole culture is revolved around that.
Yeah.
You know, this is my money, my bank account, my social security number. So it's just kind of, it's teaching something that's kind of free from that. And, you know, like I said, you might understand it, but to actually do it, it's not easy. Because even when I think about, you know, my kids and the whole thing with them, like being guided by in a certain direction that I didn't want them to go in, I feel like I need to regain control and guide them back. Because if I don't, then they're going to be continually guided towards this other direction that I didn't want. And there's so much influence from school, from friends, from social media, from the internet. And if you don't gain control, then somebody else gains control, and then they lead them towards. And that's the thing that's kind of really kind of difficult to live by sometimes. And even with the whole part that says profiting, it's like, well, it's like, how are you going to build a business without profit?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the nature of a family business is like you want to grow the business, and if you don't have profit, the business will not grow.
Right.
So this idea of like having your family help you to grow the business, sometimes some of these teachings are not that easily applied, like in the immediate, like as immediate as you might want them to be.
Yeah, they go with the flow a lot more, and therefore can be kind of steered in a way. It seems that the Tao, in general, it can be it can just be tough to apply.
Yeah.
In the West, at least.
Because even guiding them without commanding them, I've always tried to lead people by silence. Mm-hmm. But if you do that for like 5, 10, 15 years and they still don't get it, then sometimes you're like, you know what, all right, this I need to tell you directly, this is what you need to do. So sometimes people can just get it and you know what, like dad does this, so I'm gonna do that too. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people need more of a direct. So I think it's just like finding out who you're dealing with, who you're trying to teach, and then seeing which part of the teaching that they need more.
Yeah.